Joe.
What?
Steve doesn't say like anything for like 20 minutes in this video. We need to give him more to.
You know what to do?
Slap him.
No.
No. Okay.
Well, we can't go in the past.
Ah.
But if we could go in the past, we should talk about Donald Trump.
Really?
Yeah.
Can we make America great again?
Yeah.
I'll
Bring
even
that
say
up.
it.
No, you should totally say
We
it.
will.
And bring something up about it.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? I bet you if we talk about Iron Man long enough, he's gonna bring up politics and that shit.
Probably.
Yeah.
Let's
All
get
right,
it going.
bank
So
on it.
yeah, let's do it.
I'll get my time machine.
Alrighty, moving right along to number 6. Oh, there we go. And we have Ant-Man by me, The Avengers for Steven, and then Captain America, the First Avenger for Augie and Joey. So I want to first
We have
talk.
the same plane.
Yeah, we're playing.
I watched Ant-Man yesterday. I'm surprised you all had it higher than this on this list. I was expecting me to have one of the highest ones. I really like Ant-Man. I really did. I just really like the other ones better, the other films above this. Michael Pena literally steals every
does.
single scene.
I wrote down in my notes it's the Michael Pena show.
Yeah. He is absolutely hilarious. Such great comedic timing. He's got the one-punch knockout as well, which might be something we'll see later in films. I don't know. Maybe. But he's absolutely hilarious. His there was this rosé that saved the day. His white scene is like, I'm more of a neo-Cubist kind of guy, but
His storytelling is absolutely phenomenal.
on point.
And I think that a lot of the Edgar Wright still shows in that film, and that's always welcomed because I think Edgar Wright is like a master filmmaker. And I think that everything that Adam McKay and Paul Rudd added to the script was good.
Yeah.
I think that it really blended together the two styles, and I think that Paul Rudd was awesome as Ant-Man. Michael Douglas was phenomenal in this film.
He really had fun in this film.
Yes,
it
he
shows.
did. And I think that Corey Stoll, I think he was okay. I don't think he was one of the best villains, but I think that with what he was given, he did a good job.
I like Corey Stoll. I love him in House of Cards. I think he can be a very good actor. I don't think he was given much to do. I did not really care for the Yellow Jacket.
It's Marvel movie.
It's Marvel movie. Yeah, it's Marvel movie villains basically.
Yeah.
That's why I have it as low as I do, because I did not care for the Yellow Jacket as a villain. I like Corey Stoll as an actor. I don't like Yellow Jacket as a villain.
Yeah.
I like Evangeline Lilly as well. I don't like her hair in this film. I will say it looks like she.
Wow, really? Is that why it's number 6?
That's why it's number 6. It looks like she's wearing like a bolted-on wig the entire time. I don't know if that's
her
true.
hair though.
I didn't
Pretty
really care
sure
for
it's
it.
got
I'm being
for
very vain, but
A little bit.
this is what Evangeline Lilly's hair carries this film to number 6. It brings it down.
Why do you have the Avengers at number 6?
I have the Avengers at number 6 because let's put it this way. When the Avengers came out, we went to go see it at the theater, and this was, I believe, the same year that The Dark Knight Rises came out, right?
Yes, it was.
Okay. And so we went to go see it, and it was like the kind of movie that at the movie theater, like people clapped, they got up, they were shouting. It was awesome. It was a great experience. Went to watch it the next day. Kind of like all that excitement was gone for me. You know, like
Really?
the second time I watched it, it didn't hold up for me. I started noticing all the issues with the story. I started noticing how like it just there wasn't anything that complicated. I mean, people just fighting for the sake of having like superheroes fight because it looks good on screen. So I didn't think much of it after having rewatched a couple times. Whereas the other movies that are going to be higher up, I've watched plenty of times and I've enjoyed them much more than the Avengers.
Sure. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Winter Soldier? No, I'm sorry. Captain America, the First Avenger.
I think Captain America is one of those movies where they definitely Joe Johnston directed it, and he was the guy who's worked with Spielberg often. So there's a lot of Spielbergian qualities about this movie that I can really come to appreciate, and I have. The time of the during the World War II, that's beautifully done here. It's not too pro-America, but it's also not too comic booky at the same time. It like blends to both of them. It feels like Captain America was a real person in the world, in history. I love the relationship between him and Peggy Carter. I love Tommy Lee Jones. He was amazing in it. Another guy nobody talks about enough. We talk about Michael Douglas and Ant-Man, but Tommy Lee Jones is awesome too. Tommy Lee Jones is
Redeemed
fantastic.
himself from
One person that I still no one has talked about is my favorite actor of all time, Stanley Tucci.
Oh, let's just about to get to it.
Yeah.
There's a moment in Captain America where before he's going to take on the super soldier serum, he goes, "We tried it once before, it didn't work out. what that guy lacked was what you have plenty of, and that's you being a good man.
Mhm.
And so that was one of those moments. The music cue at that time and that dialogue is beautiful, and it's one of the reasons why it's a little higher on my list. Than the
Yeah,
rest
but
of the list.
you see, I think that's what I have issue with, like this idea of what a good man is, what is good. It's just so, it's too easy, too simple, and it doesn't really work with the world. Then it doesn't work with the world now.
It challenges. It worked then.
No, I don't think it did. I think we
because-
assumed that it worked then because that's how we've been indoctrinated to think about the 1940s.
Well, but when the sequel comes along, it challenges the idea of what's a good man, and I think that's where it comes. That's where it really like that. We're going to dig deeper into that thinking with Winter Soldier.
And I think they even still come in on Civil War.
Yeah,
I think
Civil War
that's,
especially. Yeah,
it's
that's going to
That's
come
a
to
running
head.
theme with Captain
Would
America.
you say that when they were talking about like World War II, they were trying to make America great again? Is that what they're?
I mean, for me, it's just like
Let's
hold
not
on.
go there.
This is a good point, but this is typical. This is typical of liberal democracies.
Oh,
to basically like try and look at like a past time and say it was better
You
than.
did this, Chris.
And yeah, you didn't do it. The political science professor comes out. So for me, it's basically.
That's what I really liked about it.
it's just too simple, and that's really why I
Okay.
put it lower than the Avengers.
And I can understand that. I feel that Captain America is very charming. It's higher up on my list because of that. Every time I've watched it, I've enjoyed it more. He is kind of he's a good old boy character. He doesn't have many flaws, which is considerable difference from the rest of the heroes who are given distinct and noticeable flaws.
Right.
He doesn't have that. Maybe that's kind of naive. Maybe
He
it's
doesn't
not.
get references too often.
That's true. He doesn't curse either. You know?
Mostly, it's mostly in
Language.
the Avengers where he doesn't get the references.
But I was afraid that in the Avengers it was going to be the or at least in Avengers and Avengers Age of Ultron, it was going to be the Iron Man show. And it's Captain America is really the head of the Avengers, and I really warmed up to Chris Evans. I did not think I was going to like him. I watched the film the first time I saw it. I was lukewarm about it, but every time I've seen it, and every time I've seen it since, I've enjoyed it more and more, and that's why it's higher on my list.
Well, the reason that I have Captain America where it is, again, this is very much expectations versus how I felt about it at the end. The first time I watched Captain America, I actually didn't see it in theaters. I watched it afterwards, and I made a drinking game out of it. Like, we were like, every time you go, fuck yeah, America, you take a drink. And so we were nice and drunk by the end of the movie. But then I watched it again sober. And correct me if I'm wrong, but Joe Johnston before this was kind of not making amazing films. There was like a run. There was like a run where he wasn't doing so well. So I went into this movie. I was hoping it would be good, but I wasn't expecting it to
He
be
kind of
good.
emulated his when he did Rocketeer. It feels very much like the
Yeah.
Rocketeer.
And I didn't have much with Joe Johnston. And again, we had seen Chris Evans, and even though he was quite good in the Fantastic Four movies he was in, they weren't great movies. So my expectations weren't high, and I remember taking from this movie how much fun I had with it. I was sold immediately on Chris Evans as Captain America, and it was, I really like those Go America movies.
I mean, I did like
Rocky.
Apollo Creed and Rocketeer referenced again.
I did like the Apollo movie.
That was good. Creed.
It was good. So that's not Marvel.
Is it not? Is Creed not a Marvel superhero?
Creed the band is a Marvel superhero.
Oh,
but
yeah.
That's the way it's cool.
No, but in terms of Chris Evans,
Creed
he was
is not
actually
gross.
the reason why I didn't mind him too much as Captain America was because I saw Sunshine after Fantastic Four. Sunshine is a great movie and he's fantastic in it.
Yeah,
Yes.
I only remember Chris Evans from Not Another Teen movie, and I thought he was
Again, fantastic.
Yeah, really. I knew he had comedic chops. I didn't know he could play the straight man really well. So that was awesome.
I saw him in Cellular, and he was not very awesome.
I remember that movie. Yeah.
Again, this isn't a Chris Evans review. This is a Marvel
Yes,
Cinematic Universe
yes.
review.
All right, so let us move to number
Let's move
5,
on to number 5.
which is where
I have.
Look again, me and Joey. Oh my god.
Wow. First of all, first thing I want to see, why is Iron Man so goddamn low on your list?
All right, yeah, let's cover that first.
I don't. Never mind.
Steve, why is Iron
have my
Man
glass
so
of water.
goddamn low?
I gave you a coaster.
I have another coaster. Well, I have
Why are you taking 2 coasters? Who the fuck are you?
that one's blank. That's for the Invisible Cup.
There's one there.
I really well now it has one. I really so when Iron Man came out, it was I had a lot of fun with it, but I just don't like the politics of Tony Stark. That's really all it boils down to for me. I really hate Tony Stark as a human being.
This fucking guy.
I know. I just don't like him. There's nothing I can do about it. Like for me, he represents everything that sucks with America, and basically they make it.
I have Ant-Man.
And they make it, and they actually, like, the way they make him so charming, you end up loving him, even though he's basically a piece of shit. I mean, like, this is the guy that makes weapons that kill innocent people.
Well,
and then he
realizes that.
Yeah, but so what? You still killed, like, millions of people through your weapons.
Yeah,
I mean, that's not
said
right.
piece of shit.
You don't like the redemption factor of it?
No, I don't, because
Really?
I think that's a typical. That's the problem. Is that like, oh well, he does something terrible, then he gets redeemed. That's like the same mentality with like a Catholic killing somebody, and then he goes to confess. So now he's fine in the eyes of God.
No, he's not. Iron Man, he did those terrible things, created weapons of mass destruction. What did he do? He created a weapon to help save people.
And then he creates more weapons of mass destruction in the next movie, and then in the movie after that. So
No,
where
he
does he
doesn't
really
really
learn?
do
He
it.
never learns. And
No.
I bet you Civil War will probably show you him create some other fucking contraption that's gonna be a threatening to the entire
I
world.
can see where you're coming from, and I can't wait till Captain America literally beats his face in.
Yeah, me too.
But I can't side with you saying that he doesn't. There's the redeeming factor of him, coming to terms that he creates weapons. I mean, like,
Yeah, but like how if his redeeming factor is basically saying, oh, it's terrible that I did this. I'm going to become Iron Man and do all these things. But at the end, yeah, okay. But think about it. Like he's made billions of dollars creating those weapons. Does he give up that wealth at all in any way? No, he doesn't. So he's still standing on blood money, and he's perfectly fine with it. He hasn't redeemed that.
I don't think
you
so.
don't redeem
I
the
don't
blood
think
money.
so.
I'm gonna
I
disagree
think
with you as well.
I like to think that the fact that he is a flawed character makes me like him more.
Yeah, I would say that too.
Because he's not perfect, but he's trying. Like that's the point of Iron Man is that he's trying, and he's not going to be perfect. He's still fucking Tony Stark. He's a playboy billionaire philanthropist. Like he fucking. But like with Iron Man, when he puts on the suit, he's a different person than Tony Stark. And even though at the end of the movie he announces that he is Iron Man, so it's tough to separate the two. I think that while the movie was going on, I think that he actually did a very good job separating the two in a very Batman Bruce Wayne style, as we talked about. But let's talk about Ant-Man. I know that we had briefly talked about Ant-Man. I didn't give a full impression of it, but we did briefly talk about it. And as I said, I had written in my notes that it's the Michael Pena show, and that's a little disingenuous.
And the Waffle Show.
It's the Waffle Show.
Yeah.
But I mean, he does steal all the scenes that he's in. He is fucking hysterical, and I think that the whole I think T.I. does a great job in this movie as well.
He does.
James Walton's pretty funny from Dark Knight. He was,
But
he was awesome.
when it boils down to it, it's really the Michael Douglas show, and I think that Paul Rudd is a great, welcome, kind of different superhero where he's very funny.
He's
also
very
a flawed
everyman
character.
superhero. Very flawed.
He just happens to be very good at breaking into things.
Burgling, as he says, not robbing, burgling, robbing in prize force.
And I do like a lot of the elements of the movie. It's very Edgar Wright. I will always watch anything that Edgar Wright does or anything that he's ever involved in. I will be a big fan of it. So Ant-Man is there for me because we had seen this together. Both of us left with the same impression that we had so much fun watching it.
That was the first time we went to this apartment. We went to go see Ant-Man.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Steady my heart. So, Og, would you like to talk more about Ant-Man?
I think Ant-Man is, it's got similar qualities to Iron Man, the first Iron Man, where we're introducing somebody that hasn't been tested yet on the big screen. I mean, when Iron Man came out, nobody cared because nobody knew. And then the movie ended up being fantastic, and now where's Iron Man? He's bigger. He's almost bigger than Spider-Man at this point. So Ant-Man was one of those untested properties, and I went in open-minded, and all the backlash with Edgar Wright and the studio quarreling, I said maybe I'll have some bated breath, and I'm glad I did because I ended up loving the movie way more than I anticipated I would. I think Paul Rudd is fantastic. Michael Douglas. This guy never did anything like this before. He never did any kind of fantasy film, any kind of sci-fi film, and he knocks it out the park, and he loves doing it. He said he'll do as many Ant-Mans as, he's down for it, and I think the way they shot it, the macro shots and inserting Paul Rudd into the shots was amazing. The first scene that we see Anthony, and we were talking about this before, me and Steve,
Anthony.
when they escape the prison, when he escapes jail, and he's like, "Where's the car?" And he's like, "Car, we're flying," and you hear the music cue, and you hear the helicopter, the wings, and the music just blares when you see Anthony for the first time. I got chilled, and I was like, wow, this is one of those kind of movies where we're going to get those amazing moments. Like, seeing a giant ant like that. I mean, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids kind of did it, but this was like, wow, like, amazing. I love this movie. It's the only reason why it's not higher is because those other films just did things in it that made me laugh.
That's again. Number 5, I think, is the right spot for it for me because the 4 above it were just amazing.
So this is a great surprise.
I just want to briefly touch on Captain America. I'm a big Captain America fan. He's probably, going into it, I really didn't care for him very much, as I said before, but he has become one of my favorite superheroes in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I really like this film. I really love his chemistry with Haley Atwell. I really like his chemistry with Sebastian Stan. I bought that they were friends from the very beginning, and Sebastian Stan was a very likable character in this film. Tommy Lee Jones was great. Yeah. I love the way it's like shot, like the color correction that's done in the older times, opposed to when he's put back into the future, into the present.
When he wakes up
and I will Back to the Future.
It's really heavy.
That's the second.
One thing I will say is his kind of his skinny phase is kind of a little uncanny valley.
It is.
But it's not terrible. It's just
that's
a little
one of the reasons why it's a little lower on my list. It's fault, not the fault of CGI. It's just like they were trying to do something. It does look a little weird. It looks like putting a pumpkin on a toothpick.
Yeah.
It's a little weird.
In opposition to young Michael Douglas.
Young Michael Douglas. Oh my God, that young Michael Douglas scene. He walked right out of Wall Street. I was like, holy crap!
That was very well done.
And it looks really awkward again when we see it in Winter Soldier when he goes back to.
It looks better now, I think.
Yeah, but it's still.
I wouldn't.
Really weird.
You touch upon Bucky. I don't think we've talked enough about that relationship. It works so well.
We can probably talk about it more.
Well, later, to build up into what most of
it
looks like. That Bucky relationship really sets the ground for the rest of the MCU in terms of Captain America's character. Right. That's your best bud. You lose him. It's a great relationship,
especially with somebody with the heart of Captain America. So let's move on to number 4.
I think people are going to be surprised by my answer.
It's a little lower than I thought it would be.
I have Guardians of the Galaxy. Steven has Ant-Man, a lot higher than expected. Augie with Iron Man, and Joey with the Avengers. I want to start off by saying I love Guardians of the Galaxy. I just love the films that are above it even more. Yeah. When I saw Guardians of the Galaxy, I thought it was a lot of fun. It's one of the most fun films in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But I really it didn't push it over the top for me. I really enjoyed it, but I did not enjoy it as much as I enjoyed the other films.
Okay. I want to save about talking about Guardians of the Galaxy.
I
like your 2 cents in there. That's fine. 2 movies that. Let's talk about. Let's move over to Ant-Man for Steve. You didn't really talk about it too much.
Well, I put it above Iron Man because, as we've said, he is the everyman hero, and that's what I liked about Ant-Man. It was that was the charm for me. It was that this is a guy that steals basically from rich people.
Of course,
do it whenever you can. But also I really did have these wow moments like you were talking about, and I thought that's what made it great. Whereas Iron Man, it was I guess the first of its kind. But when I saw Iron Man, I also remember that same year, Dark Knight came out, and that totally overshadowed it for me. Totally overshadowed it for me. And what else did I really like about Ant-Man?
What's cool about Ant-Man, and then we really get to talk about was the supporting cast besides
Michael Douglas.
Bobby Cannavale is really great as the stepfather, and Judy Greer as the mom.
And the little girl's really charming.
She's so sweet.
And that's a redemption story that I like a lot better, right? Because his actions at the end of the day are not terrible actions. You're not responsible for the deaths of million through your weapons. You're basically like a petty thief. Okay, so you stole some money, big deal. He's somebody that can be redeemed in my eyes.
And
Tony Stark, no.
And to be fair, he didn't steal the money for self-gain. He basically hacked into an evil corporation and gave the money back to the people.
Exactly.
I think also with Iron Man is that Ant-Man is that we've never seen anything like this happen on film yet. Besides, Honey, I Shrunk the Kid, very very dated though, but we've never seen somebody shrink to that level to see water come like a waterfall out of a drain. Like what? Like this is nuts. It was great. It was really
think
great.
Ant-Man is also, it's one of the funnier movies in
Definitely,
the MCU.
yeah.
It has a lot of humor in it.
That and Iron Man 3 have like a tie.
While Thor tried to put a joke every minute and failed, Ant-Man had a joke
every minute, and it worked.
Well, it also goes to show the two people who wrote, the three people, or there was four people who wrote it. But the three of name. I apologize to the fourth person. The three of name who
Joe
wrote.
Cornish, Edgar Wright,
Adam McKay,
and Paul Rudd. And I think Peyton Reed did a little bit of He loves Ant-Man, Peyton Reed.
And, that's, as I had mentioned before, I'm a huge Edgar Wright fan. I think that's going to land. Adam McKay, he went on and surprised us with The Big Short, but before that, he was doing, Step Brothers and Anchorman and, great comedies.
I never thought you'd be involved with some kind of superhero movie.
Right. Yeah, and I think it worked.
I think that's an overwhelming theme, that the directors that are directing these newer Marvel films were unproven, but have really turned out some of the best Marvel films to date, as you'll see in
the next top three. Joss Whedon not so much, but the Russos definitely.
Yeah,
we'll get into that later.
I will talk about the Russos. Yeah. I'm a huge fan of the Russos for their TV work, and we'll talk about that later since it's not even up here yet.
Yeah.
For me to have the Avengers on here, I had my top three set. I knew what my top three movies were, and I wanted, my issue, as Craig said before, was probably this area right here, 7 through 4, and the putting of where it was. And at the end of the day, the first time that I saw the Avengers, I was a big Hawkeye fan. I walked away loving Hawkeye, as I had said about Mark Ruffalo, how I liked him more than I did Edward Norton. Not terribly a lot. But Eddie, excuse me. I'm sorry. I know
Eddie. Come on, don't insult him. It's his real name.
And at the end of the day, there's a lot of amazing things that the Avengers did. I thought that Joss Whedon did a great job with bringing everybody together. That fight scene where it seemed like it was the long take where it followed one person to the next was spectacular. I just think that the three films above it did it better.
All right. Augie, do you want to
Iron Man?
Iron Man?
Iron Man for me. And honestly, I won't call them interchangeable between Ant-Man and Iron Man, but they are so close in storytelling for one another. That's why I placed it just a little bit, because it came first. This is the thing. This is the head. This is where we started. This is the beginning of it all, and it was something. When we get that teaser with Nick Fury at the end, we didn't know what was coming. Like, we didn't realize it when he comes out as Nick Fury, Sam Jackson. I can remember being when I was there at the theater. I was like, whoa, this is a big world we're going to enter right now. Nick Fury is the glue that binds it. And I think Iron Man, that's the reason why it's so much higher, is because it's what started all. The humor is great. Jon Favreau's a great director. He continues again with Jungle Book. Go see it. Chef. It's just great writing. Robert Downey kills it. He just doesn't do wrong.
He is Iron Man.
He is Iron Man at this point, right?
Yeah.
And
they're even tailoring the comic books.
They really are. Yeah. So. We got a little bit. Phil Coulson was introduced here. Clark Gregg, fantastic. We didn't talk about enough about Phil Coulson. I just wish that they integrated him a little more into the movies now. He's on the show, but Iron Man, because it started, that's right. I think and how good of that storytelling was is why it's at number 4 for me.
Okay.
Alrighty, moving right along, we're going to number 3 on our rankings. Get a little tall. Alrighty.
Wow.
Steve, wow. You have the Incredible Hulk at number 3.
I mean, I can see why. I mean, when we talk now, you reminded me how good it was.
I want to see what Joey has to say. He has it at number 10.
I said my reason.
And I told you, I really like this movie. I liked it obviously better than Iron Man. Because Bruce Banner, for me, Bruce Banner is basically what Tony Stark isn't, right? Tony Stark is an inventor, he's a scientist, but he's also a piece of shit along with it. Whereas Bruce Banner is not, he's just a scientist. He's actually the motives why he's doing what he's doing are pretty nice. They're good reasons. So, I really have no beef with Bruce Banner as a character.
But they're science bros, come on.
Yeah, but... I mean, like look at even Mark Ruffalo. Like if Mark Ruffalo is the Hulk, like and just like put him next to Tony Stark, like the who Mark Ruffalo is, like will definitely not mesh with Tony Stark.
Yeah, but they do all right in the Avengers.
Yeah, sure, but like but he still has lots of problems with Tony Stark, even in the Avengers. Like he calls him out on all the bullshit that he does. So that to me, the Hulk is a more of a it's a better hero than Iron Man.
One thing I will say against the Hulk is I really liked the Hulk. I was these
I
films
really
right
like
here.
it too.
I was debating on how I wanted to put them in. I ended up putting the Hulk at 7, but it could have very easily been at 5 or 6. I really had a problem in the Hulk with the ending fight scene as well, where they pretty much destroy the entire city.
Yeah, but that's normal for the Hulk.
I understand that. But I really liked Emil Blonsky as, like I said, as a super soldier, right. And when he turns into whatever the behemoth that he is,
the
Abomination. He's not as interesting. That's
exactly.
True. I agree, but at the same time, like for the destruction of the city, not a big deal for the Hulk, because the Hulk is not really he's not your typical superhero that tries to stop destruction from happening. If anything, he's the opposite.
He causes it. Yeah.
So that makes sense.
But at the same time, you praise him. You praise Bruce
I was just
Banner
about to say that.
for being like the good guy. He doesn't kill anybody, but then he wrecks an entire city. Like as the Hulk, but it's okay because that's what the Hulk does.
But he's not really in control of himself in that moment, right? Tony Stark. What in the film he's not. Maybe in the Avengers. In the Avengers, I think he is, but beforehand he's not. He's not really in control of his powers yet. Whereas
I guess because at that end shot you said when his eye turns green.
Exactly. Whereas Iron Man is perfectly. I mean, even if he doesn't know what his weapons are doing, it doesn't take that much to go on the internet and look at it. Okay, like come on. You can kind of know.
I just feel it's kind of hard to harp on somebody for death and destruction, even though.
But you're making death and destruction equal, whereas it's not equal, right?
You gotta remember that it wasn't his fault that those weapons got into the wrong hands.
But it's not just in the wrong hands. Even if he sold them to the U.S. military and they droned people, for me that's morally reprehensible. Like because when you drone civilians. You don't just drone terrorists.
All right, so we're gonna move right along.
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, go ahead.
Number 3.
So Guardians of the Galaxy for me, like Ant-Man, it was untested stuff, especially this. This is like, whoa, what a weird property.
Who the fuck are the Guardians of the Galaxy?
You got a giant tree, a talking raccoon, some green woman, a guy who just speaks in metaphors, right?
Yeah,
doesn't understand metaphors.
He doesn't understand
metaphors. And some random guy with a cassette player, right? So I was like, how is this going to work? How is this going to work? But you get freaking James Gunn, who I've been watching James Gunn movies since I was a kid, right? No. Like he did Troma, a lot of Troma stuff. I don't know if you know Lloyd Kaufman Troma stuff. Funny and Toxic Avenger, stuff like that.
He's probably
part of that world,
right?
Anyway, I've always known James Gunn from that kind of world of schlock, fun. So I was like, I'm going to give this a chance. I love Slither.
Yeah, I was about to bring
Slither
up
was
Slither.
great.
I love Slither,
Philly.
and he wrote Dawn of the Dead remake, which is one of the underrated classic remakes. And I shouldn't have doubted anything because it is one of those. It's just fucking awesome. It's one of those space operas. It not only tells a great story about these 5 characters, but also that it's 5, right? I think it's 5 characters.
Yes. Yeah.
But it builds upon the mythology of what the MCU is building up.
Mm-hmm.
We find out exactly what the Infinity Stones are. We find out what they do, where they all are. Like it's incredible. It does a great job, and Rocket's great, especially with who voices him?
Bradley
Cooper.
Yeah.
And Vin Diesel.
Doing a Joe Pesci
Joe
impression.
Pesci. I love the movie. I can't say enough.
I just want to say one thing about Augie's review. All of us know Augie, and it's a big joke
No, we don't.
that every time
This is
something
like the
is
second
talked
time I've
about,
met him.
every time that we bring up movies or something like that, even if we're not talking about movies, there's a certain name that comes up.
Oh,
and he hasn't even mentioned it.
Yes.
Who was great in this film?
As the collector.
You can talk about him now,
Augie has
and
a
you
love
just totally refused him.
for Benicio del Toro.
Friend.
He's Steve's Eddie Norton.
His
Benny
name
del Toro.
His name is Antonio Banderas.
Fantastic as a player.
No, Benicio del Toro, he was fantastic. Over the top. I've never, besides being in Fear and Loathing, this is like a little callback to how crazy he was in that. It was awesome. It was Benicio as the collector. Oh, the Howard the Duck. Oh my god.
Random.
A pointless teaser, but it was still funny because it was charming enough in the dialogue to really
I have the Avengers, and
Yes.
what I want to talk about is I was surprised that I was just taking a look over that Augie still hasn't cut that out yet, so it's in his top 2. I thought I was going to have it as one of the higher films compared to you two. But I really loved the Avengers. We finally got to see everyone together at once. This is what it was all building to. This is what the Marvel Cinematic Universe was made for. And to finally see everyone on screen for the first time together, working together, it's a childhood fantasy. It's a childhood dream, and to finally see it together was a dream come true for me. The film is not without its flaws, no doubt, but it's so much fun. There's so many iconic moments. The Hulk, Mark Ruffalo as the Hulk, steals the show. He is by far the most the best character in that film. Besides Loki as well, I'd say they're 1-2. The puny god scene, absolutely hilarious. Really love that scene, and I love the scene where when Iron Man bombs the Dratari, falls down, and the Hulk comes out of nowhere. It gave me chills when he's jumping on the building to save him. Especially since they were fighting earlier in the film, and it just shows the progression of character. I really, really enjoyed the Avengers.
It's definitely a crowd pleaser.
Yeah.
Joey, Iron Man?
Well, despite Steve's best efforts to convince us otherwise, I think that Iron Man.
Convinced you.
I think that Iron Man absolutely belongs in the top 3. As we have talked about,
I would agree with you.
Yes, you do. It is the first. It is the original. I am a huge Jon Favreau fan. I'm a huge Robert Downey Jr. fan. They came together. Great movie. And I think it was definitely easily one of the better movies in here. Everything worked. There was really good. Jeff Bridges, kind of different role for him. I didn't as
playing villain for
yes.
He was the dude.
Obadiah.
Obadiah.
But he was
Stain.
In many ways, though, he's
Tony
basically...
Stark built us in a cave with a box of scraps.
But he's basically, though, you see, but this is the thing, like, when you see that, then he's your typical MCU villain, like, not really
But he was the first. You
Yeah,
didn't
but
know
like-
that was typical.
I know. That was the first, and it's been like that ever since, right?
That's what the character is. He's anti-Tony Stark. He's like the magnate that does terrible things instead
I know,
of...
it's just not that. I mean, for me,
I thought the twist
Tony,
that
they're
twist
not.
was fantastic.
They're not
though,
that
with
different.
Figuring out that he's the one selling the weapons to the Ten Rings. I thought that was
Yeah,
great.
but it's politically, for me, they're not that different.
All right.
Moving right along
every
to
time.
number 2.
I just want to
We're
say
getting to the end now.
politics
Meow.
is the
Ready, here we go. Number 2.
Look at me and the politician
Wow.
here. It's the same.
I have Iron Man at number
my
2. Steve has Captain America
Yes.
Winter Soldier at number 2.
We are going to address the fact that Steve is Captain America Winter Soldier at number 2.
Let me just get to. Oh, he has the Avengers. Joey has Captain America: The Winter Soldier. Go ahead.
There has been a long-running fight until apparently
Today, at this point in time,
Steve has been very against Captain
He was
America.
vehemently-
He fucking hated that movie.
We saw that in theaters. We loved it the first time. We're like, we gotta show Steve. He's gonna
I
love
watched
this
it
film.
with you guys.
You
yeah,
did.
that's what we just said.
Yeah, but we saw it we saw it
We
before.
saw
We saw it
it.
a second time with you.
Yeah.
Steve,
Fucking, oh my
She's
god.
like,
Steve,
I
we
didn't
go.
like it.
Steve goes like, Steve, we go. What'd you think? Steve goes, I don't like it. And I was like,
There wasn't too much arguments to be had. He was just like, I don't think it was a great film.
It was like I thought
there
there was too much action. That's pretty much
Yeah.
what it was. There was just too much going on.
Like, first of all, are you kidding me? If it wasn't a Captain America film, if he wasn't dressed as Captain America, that is still a great fucking espionage film. Like, it is fantastic.
well, let him explain.
Okay.
Like,
Why the jump?
Why the jump? Okay, so I recently just rewatched Captain America because the one time I had seen it was at the theater and I haven't seen it since. When I watched it at the theater, I watched it and the people next to me were very distracting. They were on their phones a lot and they would ask me.
That wasn't us.
But
But
we-
No, it wasn't
Yeah,
that.
we
And
don't
they
do
would
that.
and they would ask me what's going on continuously, right? And so I kind of I was basically watching the movie but not watching it. And every time I would turn back to the camera, I would see Nick Fury looks like he's dead. He's really not. I saw that in The Dark Knight already with
Right.
Gordon. Like, it wasn't like that's for me. That's still like one of the major gripes I have with the movie.
Yeah, I can
but
understand that.
but overall, after having rewatched it, it's definitely a great espionage movie.
Oh my God!
It is awesome. I mean, the beginning when they start with the tanker
the
and the
very
whole scene,
start?
that parkour scene when he's just running and beating people
When
left
it's
and right
George
like that,
St. Pierre
and you're
comes
just
in
like
and
you're
actually
just filming
fighting.
it like this. It's
Amazing.
fantastic. It's a great action scene. I love the way it starts with him just running and there's they got
On your left.
on your left. Like, it's really awesome. And Black Widow actually really comes through as a character for once.
You're giving me chills because of what you're saying.
I'm really excited.
I definitely like the whole idea about basically spying on everybody.
Right.
I mean, it's talking about very relevant things.
Yeah.
I do not agree with Captain America's idea of well, there was a time where it was simpler, so therefore it's this
old
means
school
that's basically what's good. I think that's a little bit stupid, frankly.
Okay.
But overall,
I'm gonna say the name Robert Redford. Please talk about that.
Robert Redford.
Robert Redford.
oh, you mean Bucky, right?
No,
Robert
Alexander Pierce.
Robert Redford.
He's the head of Shield. He's the head of Shield in that.
Yeah.
He's the twist of the movie.
Oh right, yeah, he was he was pretty good because he starts off basically as
As a friend.
I mean, he doesn't convince me. There's always something off about him, but they do throw in that thing with Nick Fury that makes you think.
Where were they in Bolivia?
Yeah,
He said he tells a story about Nick Fury in Bolivia and how he.
he says Bogota.
Bogota. Sorry, Bogota. Yeah.
Robert Redford.
So yes, I want to talk about Robert Redford in this movie because we had touched briefly about it with Michael Douglas that it's not something that you're mad about when they're cast, but it's something that you're just like, wait, Robert Redford is in a Marvel movie?
To get the pedigree of actors.
Yeah, that's
come on.
amazing. When you get Michael Douglas, that's awesome. When you get Robert Redford, this guy's a fucking
Tommy
legend.
Lee
Yeah,
Jones, come on.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Robert Redford comes into this movie, and I knew that he was going to be great because he's fucking Robert
He's a great
Redford.
actor, yeah.
And then, he was so fucking good in this movie. The twist in the movie, as you said before, it's not known.
Right.
You kind of
Right,
watch
you
them,
can
and you're just
kinda
like,
see it.
okay.
Yeah, it's kind of
When is it gonna happen?
But I still loved the acting. Even though it was kind of obvious that he was gonna turn, but he still plays it so fucking good.
Right.
And he was so much fun to watch, and I really liked the interactions between everybody. I thought that the introduction of Falcon was great.
Yeah.
I thought that Anthony Mackie was fantastic.
Yeah, he did a really good
Dealing
job.
with the PTSD stuff
Right.
in the beginning, then becoming funny and becoming the Falcon. I mean, it became a lot.
Yeah.
And so I know that we're going to talk about it in a little bit because two people have that as their number one. So let's touch on Avengers briefly, and then we'll touch on Iron Man briefly.
Avengers. I will never forget that summer when the Avengers came out, and how all of us got together and we binged it. Me, you, and it was one of those moments where we sat in the theater and this happened. That moment happened. The scene, especially when they come together to fight the Chitauri, and they does that iconic shot now
Right,
with
right.
all of them. I'll never forget that moment in the theater. That is why it's at number 2, because it brought those moments that I will never forget, and that I will never forget with friends as well, because it was a moment where the theater lived that together, and that we were all happy and cheering and seeing some of our favorite comic book characters come to life and fighting together. That's why I think Avengers is what we have never seen before finally coming.
I almost cried.
Thank you.
I have Iron Man at number 2 because I feel that not only is it a redemption story for Tony Stark, I know that you're not a big fan, but it's also a redemption story for Robert Downey Jr. Most people don't realize that before Iron Man, Robert Downey Jr. was coming off a very bad set of circumstances. He
His
had
personal
drug
life
problems.
was a little
Exactly,
mess.
it was a mess. And he absolutely killed it as Iron Man. He was the perfect casting
To be
choice.
fair, he killed it in Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
He did kill
That
it
was
in Kiss
first,
Kiss Bang
yeah, that
Bang.
was first.
But nobody
Iron
saw
Man-
it.
Yeah.
But in
yeah.
Iron
Oh
Man,
my God.
he literally owned the role to a T. Iron Man was the first film that launched the Marvel comic book universe. And if it did terribly, we might not have had what we have
Definitely wouldn't, no.
now. Iron Man carries the Marvel Cinematic Universe through what we have. That's why we have 3 Iron Man films, and everyone else has less than 2.
And a little bit more to that was that they had the campaign to get Robert Downey Jr. to play Tony Stark. John Favreau was huge in getting Robert Downey Jr. to be Tony Stark because the studio was dicey on
yeah,
taking
it
a
was
chance
scary.
on him.
Yeah.
Like that's how important this movie is to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It is the movie that almost wasn't the movie that almost wasn't.
In
Yeah.
fact, they
And-
they wanted to cast Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
They were so close to signing Tom Cruise.
And
That's so
it
scary.
went to
Yeah.
Robert Downey
It's
Jr.
scary.
The rest is history.
Not that he's a
Exactly.
bad actor, Tom
No,
Cruise.
but I
love
think
Tom
I
Cruise.
think
No,
it
I
was
like
the
Tom
cast
Cruise.
as Tony
Not
Stark.
Tony
And
Stark.
also,
right.
he's not Iron Man this is the origin story of Iron Man. Him in the cave with I don't know what the guy's name was, but while he was in the cave building the first
Jensen.
the Mark 1
Yes.
Iron Man suit, great storytelling, great camaraderie between the two people. I really enjoyed that.
That's what John Favreau does best.
Yeah, it does.
I really enjoyed the entire film, getting to see just his fun parts, just the foibles of making Iron Man, trying to learn how to fly, his robots having a
foibles.
personality. And now look at
The
vocabulary.
Screw
It's like they don't know English. I don't know.
I mean,
What? The irony.
No.
Iron Man, Irony Man.
Oh, there we go.
Ah, there we go.
Oh,
God.
finally! It took
Segue.
so long. Segue.
Segue.
I really love this film. It's one of my favorite films. Obviously, number 2. It launches the cinematic universe. It is the birth of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and
Yes.
for that, it gets such high praise.
So let us move to our number one.
Our
We have a
number-
lot to talk
the
about.
number
in our
one
number
films.
Ready?
Here we go.
We know where they are.
Please, it's not hard to know because we have the nation.
look at that.
I can't believe it.
2 people with Captain America the Winter Soldier. That's me and Augie, by the way, have Captain America the Winter Soldier. Steven has Guardians of the Galaxy, as does Joey. Let's talk about more of the Guardians of the Galaxy before we start with
All
Winter
right.
Soldier.
Now, I had talked about Winter Soldier briefly. I wanted to leave a lot for you guys to talk about. This is your number one movie, so
Yeah.
I will not say anything bad about Winter Soldier ever. Like, that movie is fantastic. But there is one thing about Guardians of the Galaxy that made it put it at number one, and out of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, it is the only movie that I saw multiple times in theaters. I went and saw it 4 or 5 times in theaters. Like, this was my fucking movie. Like, I went in there, it had everything that I was gonna like. I love James Gunn. The cinematography behind that film was fucking fantastic.
Step
Like,
it up.
it was like straight out of fucking comic books, like the still slow motion stuff with Star-Lord when he's like jumping over rocks, when he's flying back to the ship, the Reaper, and everything was perfect note. The humor was there. Every single person in that movie was fantastic. Glenn Close out of fucking nowhere.
Oh, she's
Like,
awesome.
fucking prick. Like everybody was just amazing in that movie. It had everything that I wanted. I'm a big Chris Pratt fan. It just like fucking did it for me. So we will hand it over to
hold
Steve.
on. We forgot to mention one thing, I think. The greatest soundtrack in any Marvel.
Oh,
fuck yeah!
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Oh, were you? I'm sorry.
That's what I was
man.
gonna
didn't know
say.
you were
'Cause
gonna
it's like, they take such a chance with that soundtrack, basically.
I know.
They really
They
do.
revitalized the 14 songs
Yeah,
on that
exactly.
soundtrack.
Everybody
You know, I was listening to it on my way driving here from Connecticut. I listened to the entire soundtrack, and it's a
Yeah.
great soundtrack. And like,
It rivals Dazed and Confused for one of
Yeah.
the
Oh,
best.
seriously.
Yeah, one of the
seriously.
best non-original scores but
Right.
soundtracks of all time. In
no, it's,
And a great score, too.
and
it
for
does
me-
have a great score.
For me, the reason why I really love Guardians of the Galaxy is that this is Star Wars in the Marvel universe. That's what I love about it.
Are you a big Star Wars fan?
Do you like Star Wars?
I mean, I know, right? Yeah, it's basically like Star Wars. Chris Pratt is like an awesome Han Solo,
Definitely.
you know, in many ways. And the whole cast, I mean, it's like the way they come together. That's what makes it incredible. Like they make a friggin' walking tree, a raccoon, and like just work. And like, who the hell was ever able to do that? Like, it's incredible. I mean, it's definitely the best, and I've yet to see a movie in the Marvel Universe that tops it. Maybe Civil War will do it, I don't know. But
Maybe.
so far, this is definitely my top.
Alright, so let's talk about Winter Soldier.
From the first time I saw the Winter Soldier, I absolutely loved it. From the first scene, the fight scene first fight scene, I should say, on the boat, on the ship, when they're, it's just you felt every punch. Everything was so well choreographed. It was such a great fight scene. The fight scene between him and George St. Pierre, you felt everything. It was so visceral, and I could not believe we got such good direction out of the Russos, who were before this, untested television directors.
And I will say that I felt more from George St. Pierre than I have in his last 5 fights in the UFC in this movie. But yes, talking about the Russos, just to cut you off a little bit, they have done The Office, they have done Arrested Development, they have done Community. 3 of my favorite fucking shows of all time.
Absolutely.
Like, the comedy is just spot on. So it's like, how the fuck are they going to do Captain America
And wonderfully is the answer.
And Danny Putty
Danny Putty, yeah.
is right in that movie, like a brief cameo, and I loved him as Abed. So go ahead.
Also, I want to talk about Sebastian Stan coming back as playing as the Winter Soldier. You really got their chemistry from the first film transferring to the second film. Another story of redemption, of him trying. He lost his friend in the first film. You think he's dead. He comes back.
Yeah.
Such a great story. I love the Winter Soldier. He's so menacing. Whenever he's on scene, the score that comes outside.
Sort of high-pitched, that was great.
When he first comes on screen with a mine underneath Samuel L. Jackson's car, that sequence in general was amazing. Such tension.
That was so post-pounding. Like, they're just, oh man.
The final fight scene on the helicarrier, amazing. It's everything that I wanted from an Avengers film in a Captain America film, and I wasn't expecting it. I was expecting Winter Soldier to be pretty good, but when I left the theater, I said, like, this is the best Marvel film I've ever seen. I saw it again the next night with you, and we told that story already. And I was mad. I was like, how can he not like this film? It's so good.
Well, yeah, but again, it was really that people took me out of the movie.
That was an outside experience.
And when I rewatched it, like in the privacy of my own home, and I actually sat through the whole movie, I was like, oh shit, this is a good movie.
I hope you don't have that experience with Civil War, especially if it's from what the reviews have been saying. It's fantastic. So hopefully,
we'll just see it with you guys.
Yeah, not to worry.
Please talk about this.
Please talk about this.
So with like as you can see, Captain America on my list. It's definitely a good movie. I didn't have huge expectations for the sequel. I didn't know much about the Winter Soldier. I knew enough of his backstory, so I was like, is this going to be a compelling enough story? Mm-hmm. We'll see. The Russos, I was like, who are these guys? Oh, they directed the Arrested Development. What? And I was like, okay, all right, let's go. So when that
Arrested Development, of course, known for its fighting scenes.
Of course, fight scenes, Motherboard especially. That was
Motherboard.
I can't. I don't know how to say surprised in any other way. I couldn't believe. Flabbergasted. I was. We talked about the scene on the tanker. The scene on the tanker. First of all, he's wearing the muted color suit, the shield outfit. The shield itself doesn't have the red, white, and blue. It's all colored out. Mm-hmm. I was like, this is Captain America as a spy, and it works. It's scary. If that guy was on a ship and you were on the other side of you would be shitting yourself.
No.
When he kicks the guy off the boat, pretty much like he stabs the guy in the hand with his knife. Like, oh my god! Yeah. I think the characters work. I think this is probably the most intimate story out of the MCU. Mm-hmm. The themes that they set up about you need to be careful about who you trust. Our government, not to get political because I'm not, but
it's very relevant.
It's relevant to today's. It's Nick Fury was great in this. I love one of the problems I had with Avengers was Captain America's suit in that one. I think it looked very costumey. It didn't look like an actual suit. I love when he went back to the museum and got the original
the old
suit.
one, yeah.
I was like, thank God that happened because that was amazing. The scenes with Falcon, I'm so glad they set up that relationship because it's really the true core of the Bucky relationship.
He needed a new friendship.
Right. So
you were saying,
hey! Some of the best action scenes in any of the MCU. Like seriously, even in action films in general, like that elevator scene where finally Steve's like, there's something wrong here.
People just keep getting on, and they're all like sweating, and they're all like pushing to the back.
He's like, does anyone want
to get up before we start this? Anyone want to get up? I love that scene.
Oh my god!
And you really get to see him kick the shit out of people. He's kind of more like the leader in the Avengers film, so he doesn't do too much. But in this film, he kicks a lot of ass in this film.
It's weird. The Avengers, they feel a little more not weightless. I'm going to say, but the action doesn't hit as hard as this.
This film,
you feel the punches. You feel. He goes against the guy, Trusted Rumlow, played by, what's this guy's name? He's awesome.
Yeah, he is awesome.
I forgot his name, but he's great.
So are we, though. So. Don't worry. I'm glad that he's going to come back for the next film, for Civil War 2. He's playing Crossbones.
Yeah. I love the kind of world building here. This also, to talk about that, this literally shook the rest of the MCU. Mm-hmm. The fact that S.H.I.E.L.D., that we all trusted and loved, ended up becoming Hydra. What? Mm-hmm. Are you fucking kidding me? Like, that was an incredible twist. and the MCU is now, kind of piecing back everything that was set up.
They also introduced Stephen Strange as the throwaway line
Yeah,
from
which is awesome.
What's his name, the bald-headed.
Who was a good guy
politician.
too. Like he was in Thor, and he was in the one-shot stuff. We thought we could trust him, and he ends up
Yeah.
being one of the baddies.
And Gary Shandling.
All right. Oh, Shanley.
Shandling. Sorry.
R.I.P.
Yeah.
That was a cool callback too to Iron Man 2 when he played at the hearing. He was the center at the hearing.
Yeah.
He wanted to get the suit. I was
Yeah.
like, okay.
That's why.
All right.
Go back to Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, let's just touch up a few things on Guardians of the Galaxy. The first being Karen Gillan.
Karen, I saw this film. I knew Karen Gillan was in it, but I wasn't really paying attention too much to where she was in it when I saw it. And I had to leave the theater for read the credits. Well, I read the credits and then I left the theater. And then I was like, oh shit, Karen Gillan played Nebula. She was unrecognizable.
I love
her
her
voice
baby.
especially changed. She has a very thick accent.
Yeah. But she did a pretty good accent.
She did a very great
We
job.
also to touch upon about that, her and Gamora are Thanos' stepkids.
Well,
Like,
I thought she was actually his
was
daughter.
Was she? I thought they were
I
just.
don't
thought Nebula
think
was
so.
I think he
actually-
adopted them.
Yeah,
No,
she
I
just-
I'm pretty
I
sure.
thought that he just took them in raids.
I can see him ravaging a planet.
Yeah, I Gamora definitely, but I'm pretty
Maybe-
sure.
maybe
that's
Nebula.
laid out.
Yeah.
But definitely, but still, the point that they're related to the big bad, which we finally get some. full
Right, we
screen
finally
time
get
with.
to meet him for once
Right.
because he's always been like
Josh
He's
Brolin.
talked
Yeah.
about in Hush.
exactly
Hush
Hush
We only ever
tones.
seen him once.
Yeah,
and that was
he's
at
the
the end of
Voldemort
Avengers.
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
the MCU.
Which it was great to see him on screen when the
Thanos, though. Hands of Fate.
when he what's that scene with the other? Remember he has the
Oh,
one
yeah.
from the Avengers, and then who's the villain in the
Ronan.
Guardians? Ronan the
Yeah.
Destroyer.
Yeah, just with his hammer.
Oh my god,
Yeah, it was great.
that was
And
great.
then one thing that I will say about Thanos is that like Thanos is actually a ripoff of Darkseid. I don't know if,
Well, we know
if
that
everybody knows
Darkseid
that here.
came first. Yeah.
And so it's kind of surprising that like Marvel is actually was able to now like because now they introduced Thanos, so he's gonna basically be he's the dark side of the Marvel universe, and they kind of got to it first. And I think anything that the DC universe is gonna do to meet Darkseid is now gonna be compared to.
I knew he was gonna bring it up. I knew he was gonna bring it up.
It's
We try to
inevitably
keep
gonna
it.
happen.
We try to keep DC out of this
But no, but
conversation.
it's not that. It's just that I'm just saying that kudos to Marvel for
Yeah.
having done that because
Yeah.
like
No,
that
honestly,
that wasn't their character originally. Like, it was a ripoff of a DC character.
I think it's cool that they threw somebody that nobody knew at all.
Right.
Like Thanos, like at the end of Avengers, I think all of us like, who the hell
I mean,
is
the
this
only
guy?
reason why I knew Thanos was because of the game War of the Gems, like on
Oh,
Super
okay.
Nintendo.
I
Like,
never played that one.
it's great. It was
Yeah.
It's basically like the Avengers trying to get the
Infinity Stones.
yeah, the Infinity
Gauntlet.
Stones to stop Thanos. So it's
That's
pretty
cool.
cool.
One other person that I wanted to talk about from Guardians of the Galaxy was, I can't remember his name, the Mohawk guy. Blue guy.
Oh, Mickey Rourke?
Oh,
not Mickey
no,
Rourke.
No, I'm sorry. What's his
From
name?
Walking
Michael
Dead.
Booker.
Michael
Michael
Booker.
Booker,
That's
yeah.
it.
Oh, what's
Yeah,
his name?
Yondu.
Thank you.
Yondu, man.
Yondu,
That
he's
fucking
great.
arrow.
First of all,
Yeah.
speaking of James Gunn, he's been in almost all of James Gunn's films.
Yeah,
in
Michael
some,
Rooker
some
has,
capacity. Yeah. Also, we didn't mention Super in his film, which is a really good movie about
Yeah, Super was
making
great.
fun of superhero movies with
Yeah.
Ray Wilson.
And
But-
they directs one of the best.
Michael Rooker, he's a funny guy, and and I loved him in Slither, and he's just amazing in this as well. As his sort of,
Mallrats.
speaking of stepdad, he's kind of a stepdad to him.
He was great in Jumper, too. So.
Well, what's cool about the setup for Yondu is that he's like this presence that's like, you don't know if you could take him seriously because all he does is he sits there and he just spits threats. He's just
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
you don't come back here, I saved you
Oh,
from
yeah.
Tar.
With that cool
They wanted to
arrow.
eat you. They've never had Terran before.
Yeah,
Terran.
and then like all of a sudden his ship goes down and he's surrounded by like 20 of these bad guys, and then he just pulls out this arrow, knocks all of them out
Yeah,
in
with the
seconds
whistling.
flat with the whistling.
Yeah.
A resident
Whistler.
whistler.
Yeah.
And then you're just like, all right, Yondu is for real.
Right.
Yeah.
And then it sets it up that he's gonna be coming after these guys
Yeah.
again.
Because they got
They got the
the
spell.
trend. That's all.
Also-
And that's also that Star Wars element again, right?
That's
Like
true,
with
yeah.
a character like Chris Pratt basically being Han Solo.
Yeah.
Also, that he knows more about Quill's parenting
Right.
than
Yeah.
he's letting on.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
he finds out, he's like, well, this kid's never going to find out about his father anyway, kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
So, which is obviously which from what I'm hearing, it's Kurt Russell is cast into this next movie. We'll see.
Is he actually going to be Kal-El? Is that what-
Kal-El? Look, you did it now. You did it.
And the other thing is that Star-Lord will probably be more important than we think, actually, because he
I
was
hope
able
so.
to hold the Infinity Stone in his hand and not
And
die.
not,
So
yeah.
he'll probably be much more important than
Yeah.
we're kind of being led to believe.
I know they definitely said that he was going to be in Infinity Wars Part 1,
Right.
and I can't see him not being in both of them,
Right.
so.
No.
Unless he died.
No, we'll see.
You shut your mouth.
Never
All right. So, is
So
there
here-
anything else that we want to touch
I don't
up on? Any closing comments?
Iron Man sucks!
Shut the hell up.
Again, I'm very happy to be the editor. So yeah, this is our list.
Yeah. I'm gonna go through and make it like a compiled list. I'll take all the numbers. I'll
Yeah,
average them
we'll
out.
probably add that in a title.
It looks
card.
like though Captain America is gonna be stealing the top spot with
Yeah,
Guardians,
Nobody's mad.
Guardians of the
Yeah.
Galaxy at number 2, which I ain't mad at. Iron Man
Definitely
probably gonna be
Guardians.
around number 3. We were talking about that when you were.
Yeah, Ant-Man might dance around.
Ant-Man's number 4 or 5. It's gonna be up there, and the Avengers probably as well.
Yeah.
The Hulk is gonna be interesting because it is down here and also up here.
Yeah, so
It'll
everything else will
probably be around 5 or 6.
So
we'll see.
yeah, we'll
get
give you a
there.
full listing. So thank you for.
Thank you
tuning
very
in.
much for watching and
Yeah.
listening to all of us. If you like this, please feel free to subscribe below. It was great having you, great having us. This was a lot of fun,
Yeah,
and
sure.
I hope to do it again
And
soon.
yeah, so
Yeah. Have fun in Civil War. Hopefully, we'll be
Yeah.
doing a review of that soon.
We'll probably
I'm
do.
very
Yeah.
excited for that because if it's
no,
anything,
we will.
Yeah,
if,
we
it's,
do.
if it's anything like the Winter Soldier, I'm already gonna be impressed. And the reviews so far have been stellar. So.
Yeah,
Yeah, like
Like
the
the
Incubus
Incubus
song.
song.
Incubus,
Yeah.
yep.
Okay, we're going on.
this is amazing. Incubus is not.
We're making references to references in all past videos. We're
We
meta.
are. All right, so everybody.
Don't worry, we're
Hasta,
awesome.
hasta la bye bye.
Woo.
Joe,
Jesus, what?
you're not photogenic enough. We're getting calls from everybody that say Craig's photogenic. You're just not photogenic enough.
Sorry, man. Get pretty.
Get prettier. Goodbye. Goodbye. I just wanted to do that one.